Podcast.
What's up? This is the Above Limits Podcast. I am Olympus Mons. I've been noticing on I try to figure out how to explain certain things, and the only thing I can come up with is there's some strange things that are happening out there on the internet. And what I mean by that is that the strange thing is that the ability for certain companies to just be able to get rid of whoever they want that they just don't agree with. Like, they actually have people monitoring certain people that I follow, that I stay. Sometimes I subscribe, unsubscribe, then I subscribe again, and then I watch a video. A video comes around where I'm like, man, that's why I subscribe to that guy, but I just don't like the hype around him, etc. But let's say this. It first started off with Alex Jones, and one thing I know about Alex Jones is right before he was Thanos or kicked off the internet completely and deplatformed, he was talking a lot about China and Apple. Apple was the first people to kick him off their platform. Then after that, serially, it was other platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. They all did it in one day, where they all deplatformed him and made it where you can't get his content on those social media networks. And there's not really much that he can do, but I mean, if I was him, I would be starting a lawsuit. And soon enough, you're going to have an example of many of these people, which they could prove in a court of law, to create a class action lawsuit against YouTube and other companies that are basically building monopolies for only their points of view to be put out there in the social networks and platforms where everybody watches. You know what I'm saying? And some YouTubers have talked about how that it's a utility or anything like that. I don't think it's a utility. I mean, if that's the definition of a utility, is that everybody uses it. I mean, look at Donald Trump. He can't ban people off Twitter because he's a public figure. He's the president, and you have to be able to, according to the courts, be able to get in contact with him if you have to. So all these trolls are able to troll him all day, and he can't ban them. But as far as where was I going with that? Anyways, deplatforming, right? So let's talk a little bit about Twitter. Okay, Kevin Hart was not allowed to be on the host of the Oscars because he made some type of homophobic tweet, like in 2012, 6 years ago or something like that. But I think Nick Cannon posted a couple tweets of other comedians using the same word. Like, for example, Chelsea Handler. Chelsea Handler said something about like super fag. You know what I'm saying? Like, she used the word fag, and she was like talking directly about somebody and said they're a super fag. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like okay, you know how gay dudes, they call each other fags, and they think it's like okay because they're fags themselves. You know what I'm saying? So it was in a derogatory way, that she was using it. But I'll give you for example for me. So I am currently suspended off of Twitter, off of my main Twitter account, because I was debating in Bill Maher's Twitter feed. I said, y'all are a bunch of fags, man. You know what I'm saying? And that got me suspended off Twitter indefinitely. I'm banned. And like so when I saw that tweet that Nick Cannon showed, I went to Twitter. I went to Chelsea Handler's page where the tweet was, and I reported it because if my account gets reported, I'm gonna report her account for the same thing. That's what got me banned. But also, I've had two other like warnings where they've not let me post for like 6 days, and then the next time was like 30 days. And both times I used fag. I used the word fag, and it was the first time was on Chelsea Handler's page. She was putting up this story about the caravan. The next one was Michael Moore's, and those were the times that I got suspended or for temporarily. When I got suspended forever, got banned, was on Bill Maher's, and I used the same word, right? So, like, how did I get reported? Was I automatically because of the algorithm? Okay, you're on Bill Maher's page. He's a staunch leftist, you know what I'm saying, and Democrat and anti-Trump. Was I automatically flagged? Did another user flag my account? So like when Chelsea Handler used that thing, that word, I went to her that tweet and I flagged it. And you know what happened? They a pop-up came up. It gave me like a thing where it said why are you flagging this account? Okay, I put it on there. Offensive, abusive, inappropriate language, something like that. And another page came up where it said, sometimes what people post will offend you. And if you're offended by it, then you should just go somewhere else. Go to another page. So do you see the hypocrisy? Because I am in the algorithm as a pro-Trump, anti-leftist person, which that's where I'm profiled as, if my social score. And she's the opposite. Like, I'm banned, she's not. I'm not even allowed to flag it. It didn't flag. You get what I'm saying? So you have people getting banned off of Twitter. It started with Milo Yiannopoulos. Then it was most recent Laura Loomer, where she handcuffed herself to the headquarters of Twitter. That was pretty brave, in my opinion. No matter what you think of her personally. And let's go back to Alex Jones. Alex Jones was talking about Apple. How Apple's creating technologies for the Chinese who have a communist, very strict, totalitarian government. You're only allowed to have so many kids. If you mess up in China, you're doing hard labor. Just like the North Koreans, but Chinese style, I guess. And they're happy with. I mean, I heard like an Apple plant, like people, they go work in these plants and then they live in dormitories. So basically, they get a wage, but like, okay, so during lunch, you'll have to buy a lunch, right? During your break. So you're giving back to the person that's paying you, because you have to eat, and everybody basically eats the same thing. So like your dormitories, you have to pay for your dormitory, and then you have to pay for your food. So it's like a cycle. They give you the money, but you have to pay them to live and then pay them to eat. You know what I mean? Because it's like a dorm style. It's not like you're a laborer. That's very Orwellian. And this is what they're doing for Apple. And they don't have the type of life like we do, where we're able to, get as much money as you can if you can hustle, or if you want to work. you know, you can bring your own food. And you're wondering why these people are they have to have nets put in because they're just jumping off of buildings. I mean, this is what's happening over there. So China is making all this stuff, and Alex Jones is I mean, he is full blown trying to expose that. So the first people to deplatform him was Apple. Why? Because I mean, he's telling the truth. They don't want people to know. They don't want people repeating that over and over again. The next was the other platforms. And these companies are all in a partnership, and they are creating the technologies to set up surveillance states, and they are all anti-Trump. They are all pro-liberal shit. So when you want to say that Trump is a bad guy, you need to really look into it a little bit more, because the same mainstream media, who's also anti-Trump, repeatedly pushing their propaganda. I mean, this is some sick stuff. I mean, you should be very worried about it. And let's see. I mean, I don't get why people aren't outraged over that. That these companies are setting up these things, and you're going to see with the next person that's in office, like, people are going to think this is normal, that this is how it was done back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like no, it's a very very big change, and we'll start snitching on people just like they do in North Korea, and then you'll be if you offend somebody, if you offend somebody you can offend if you're along with this leftist ideology, but if you're not, then you can be fined. If you don't pay your fine, you'll be put into jail for maybe 6 months. If you offend somebody again, you pay another fine and could be put into jail for a year, or another 6 months. And eventually, if you offend somebody so much that you could be facing hard time. I mean, in Texas, if you commit the same crime over and over and over again, you can get life in prison. So this is the world we are moving to. This is serious stuff. It is why I talk on this channel, and the latest thing that's been happening has been, okay, so people that have more followers than me, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't ask for anything. I don't care if you send me $1 or if you sign on my Patreon. That's all cool. I'd do art. I'd probably buy, like, the visual shit that I got going right now. I'd buy more of that. But people that do this for a living, this is their livelihood. I mean, they're voicing that there needs to be alternatives to this. So I'm in agreement. Yeah, there should be alternatives. Get rid of these. There's no reason why these major YouTubers, when the adpocalypse happened, they didn't file class action lawsuits, that they're not getting paid what they deserve. And YouTube should have found a way around it, but so within the past year and a half, alternatives to Twitter, such as Gab, alternatives to YouTube, such as BitChute, Patreon, which there are alternatives now. And recently, they all are getting blocked by Stripe and by PayPal. So basically, you have monopolies. Like, all the competition is getting deplatformed. The same thing that's happening. They can't process money. They can't do commerce. They can't take donations. They can't do all the things that they used to be able to do, because the minute they're associated with people that are banned, such as Alex Jones or whoever, they are put on the list of deplatforming. They're not able to host their websites, which, in my opinion, I don't see why nobody's creating lawsuits, because these are monopolies. Obviously, these are now monopolies, and monopolies are illegal. And these people are in partnership. And if there's a conspiracy to do these sorts of things, which there have been plenty of whistleblowers that have shown how these tech giants, when they say they are not partisan, that they really are. They're fully aware of where they stand politically, and they hate that Donald Trump is in office. So, as I stated when we first started the video, I think this is very weird. I think it's very weird that news stations talk about the president 24 hours a day, come up with new ways to accuse him of a crime, saying the same thing 20 million ways. I think it's weird that people are getting deplatformed and just scrubbed from the internet. This should not be happening, and all these companies are in partnerships, and they want to stay on top. And what's going to happen is that the government's eventually going to have to step in, and there goes the freedom that we once had on the internet, because now the government has to step in and regulate, when the internet's always been away from regulation, such as putting taxes on online goods, etc. It was uncharted territory for regulation. And now the government's going to have to regulate, because of the way these companies are immorally, wrongfully attacking the people they disagree with and kicking them off their platforms. So this is the Above Limits podcast. If you like the video, share and like it, and also subscribe to the channel. And once again, just keep on watching. This is Olympus Mons.